Season 9, Episode 6 of The Purple Rain, of course, brought to you by our great sponsors, DR Travels, Bloom Real Estate, CIR Doors, and we had Peel back this week, so we've got some Peel players knocking at that door, mate. I'm going to knock on some doors up here. And, of course, Sonam Capital. Plenty of Sonam Capital listeners' questions coming in this week, guys, thick and fast. But we've picked the best and the brightest, and there are some absolute rippers. So thank you once again for jumping online at Purple Rain 95, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and getting around our social media. Oz, how you going? Happy Easter.
Yeah, mate. Thank you very much. Happy Easter to you too. Awesome weekend. Before that, obviously, in the lead into the game, I was away on a Year 12 retreat with the mighty crew from JDC, so that was great. And the Year 12s were absolutely outstanding, so it was great to spend time with them. And then, obviously, pushing through to the game, Good Friday. What better way to get started on the Easter weekend, mate, with a big dub, if you will. And then, of course, the traditional Easter egg hunt, which is always backed with tears, whether some people couldn't find said chocolate or whether the Easter bunny may or may not have forgotten an Easter egg or whatever the case may be. The reality of that, mate, is Easter is a great time to spend with family, and it was just an awesome weekend. Again, made just that even sweeter, if you will, by one Fremantle Dockers.
Yeah. Now, Oz, I feel like there's a big, and this is a discussion that came up on our chat, there's a big city-country divide in the Easter egg presents versus the Easter egg hunt and what goes first.
Yeah.
Now, being a country guy, we never did an Easter egg hunt. It was always just a present. The Easter bunny gave us a present. Mum and Dad gave us an Easter egg as well, and that was pretty much that. There was no hunt. So the big chat at the moment in the dad's group that I've got is, do you do the hunt first? Do you give the presents first? What's going on? And it was a strong majority in the hunt first, but I'm saying, mate, I'm a little bit, I don't know. I can't recall ever doing an Easter egg hunt when I was a young fella. So I don't know if it's a generational thing or a country city thing.
Oh, look, I'm a lot older than you, mate, but that was always a thing for me. Presents and Easter, no, that's not a thing for me.
Yeah, like, no,
or
but
my
like
family.
You get an egg. You get
Oh,
an
I
egg.
gotcha.
Like,
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
present.
okay.
Like, you
Yeah,
get your
yeah.
egg from your parents first, or you get your
Oh,
egg
yeah,
from
yeah.
your Easter bunny first, and then your egg from your parents
Oh, that's a
first,
given.
and then you
Yeah,
do
that's
a
a given.
hunt.
Yeah, that's a
Or
given.
is it so you go presents like eggs
Yeah, you
first
wake up
and
to
then
an
the
egg.
hunt afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yep,
All right,
yep,
mate.
yep,
Well,
yep,
let's
yep.
get into it, shall we? enough Easter chat, because Easter's gone. It's dead and gone. Pardon the pun. And we're back. The Dockers are back anyway. All right, Oz, play that sound. The Good, the Bad, and the Dockery, of course, is brought to you by DR Travel. For all your travel needs, make sure you get in contact with Daniel, or Doc as I like to call him, on 0474 064 629. Let's just think, if you're heading over to Adelaide for a couple of weeks, why not get in contact with the Doc? Because the Doc would have sorted you out a great deal for, what's it called? Gather Round. So make sure you get in contact with him on his mobile, or you can flick him an email, daniel.reese, that's REES, at globaltravelnetwork.com.au. Or if you're on your socials, just click on the DR_travels. That's he's there. He's there for us. DR_travel. So get around him on that. But look, the Freo Dockers 9-15-69. I was tell you, not going too hard and heavy about that. Defeated Adelaide Coast 4-10, 34 by 35 points. Look, let's just roll into the good. James Aish, bit of an unsung hero, the old stable pony, getting a bit of love this week with 29 disposals. Lukey Ryan and Jordan Clark, who are both fantastic and on the show, really great guys. And look, to be honest, both of them are moving into All-Australian form. Ryan definitely back into that All-Australian form. All-Australian from a couple of years ago, 27 disposals. Clark, 26 disposals. Hughes, 18 disposals and only one little mistake. So didn't make a big mistake at the start of the game to cost us a goal, but only one little mistake by Hughesy, which, it was still a Cat 10, but, in terms of sizes of Cat 10s, it was a small Cat 10. It was like more of a Cat 3. He kind of fumbled it, and it went to the opposition, and they kicked a goal.
Yeah.
Mate, Josh Draper, how good does this guy look? He does not look out of place in the back six. it's quite interesting because everyone's like, oh, he's an NGA product and da-da-da, and you kind of get judged on where you get drafted from. But believe it or not, guys, Josh Draper would have been a top 40 pick if he hadn't have broken his ankle or but badly injured his ankle. I think it was maybe ligaments. Don't know if it was a break or bad ligament tear. In his draft year, he was a gun at PSA level. He was a gun. He used to play in the midfield for Trinity, and then when the ruckman got tired, he'd go into the ruck. So he'd be a midfielder that went into the ruck. So he's just an absolute jet. A basketball as well, basketball player. So got that lovely feet work, but his ability just to pick up the ball, to for a guy of that size with that speed and that smoothness. And I know I don't like comparing players, but he is just another Michael Johnson back there. He's another MJ. He looks
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, yeah.
He looks really good. What did you think of him?
Yeah, mate, absolutely love him. I remember when we interviewed um, Drapes some time ago. I'm pretty sure that's coming out. I'm assuming it will at some point. But
yeah, we interviewed Draper last year, didn't we? We
yeah,
did. Yes.
I
That's right.
I asked him a few questions about B-ball because I could just tell he moves like a basketballer. Great hands and whatnot. But I always found my best basketballers had a crossover with footy, and that's because not only of the tank, but just the ability, the evasiveness to go laterally and to be able to hold their position and really have that strong core. I sort of the reason I bring that up is I look at Drapes, mate, and he's just got this X factor about him when he moves the ball and when he has ball in hand, and he's not afraid at the moment to take on the kick. He's not afraid to take on the run either. And I've always been a proponent of opportunities will come throughout the season, and it's really up to you to cement your spot. Now, obviously, prayers and whatnot goes out to McDonald, with his knee and clearly Coxie with his hamstring. But you've got to take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you. And his first two games are building, and they've been quite impressive. This game in particular, Duck, I think we've found an additional ball carrier and user, mate. And he's a big boy, so. I'm very excited. I'm trying to calm the farm a little bit. I know you're down in Tambers at the moment, but we're just trying to calm the farm a little bit. Man, he's looking good.
Don't worry, mate. The farm is very calm. It's bloody needs a drink down here. But look, although I just think, his ability to use the ball as well and not just be a stopper. Like there's plenty of guys that are stoppers, and I think that's probably more your Hugh Davies type. He's a stopper, not necessarily to use a soccer term, a ball winning defender or a guy who can cover and things like that. So yeah, he looks like an absolute gun. And I know we don't want to talk him up too soon, but he looks like he's at the level. He doesn't look out of place. Lastly, before we get into the Macho Man, Brendan Walker, back from his knee, took a couple of big hits, but again, played a really great role. Rochelle and Rankin didn't really have too much of an impact on the game. Overall, Oz, that back seven, 12 contested defensive one-on-ones. All right, so that's a stat you can look up on the AFL website. So 12 contested one-on-ones, and we only lost 3. So that means we've gone, we've won 9 out of 12. That is unbelievable for the contested defensive one-on-ones. And the boys in the back 7 really did a great job, including being led by your Macho Man of the Week. Now, Macho Man, of course, is brought to you by Bloom Real Estate. If you want to get around a Macho Man when it comes to selling real estate, oh yeah, brother, make sure you get in contact with Fraser on 0439 092 248 or Fraser at bloomwa.com.au. Oz, who have you got for your Macho Man of the Week? I think we've probably...
Yeah, look, I've got an extra 10 seconds on the yes. Extra 10 second on the yes, mate, just because I can. But look, again, it's not about possessions. It's about being able to stand up and really have an influence in your position and ultimately in the game. And early on, when I think it was all about not taking advantage forward of center, but in the back line, what we were doing was nullifying contests, and it was through one general, if I will. And he's gone from being a 1-star general, in my opinion. He's already up to a 4-star general. And to coin the term, the old Band of Brothers, love that show, by the way, check it out. Alex Pearce, if he is not All-Australian right now, there needs to be some form of parliamentary inquiry. He is absolutely horning oppositions at the moment. And it's not just getting the fist in, mate. He is influencing contest, not only by fist, but maintaining possession, taking the game on, and busting through. Is there anything more exciting than seeing that slow motion? We need slow motion. And I did see, by the way, shout out to what are they called again? The Restump podcast. They put something up on their socials, and I think it was like Alex Pearce like hitting up someone in the forward 50. I can't remember who, but anyway, great piece of cinematography. Well done. But to watch Alex Pearce slow motion, the hair's going everywhere, and he's busting through packs. He's doing this one. It's like that old Russian raver dude. He's doing this one. Anyway, he's got the ball in hand, and he's just delivering, and it's just a sight. But it's his general capabilities in the back line that's holding us up, and we're just able to absorb because of his leadership. And I think going back to what you're saying, Duck, lead on game day, like captains on game day may not necessarily do a great deal and you follow actions, but the true leaders are able to inspire by action. And he is inspiring by action. And just his ability to do what he's doing right now has to be, for me, the macho man of the week.
Yeah, and I mean, when you think about it, we've spoken about lost the two key defenders in Omac and Coxie, so he's lost the two other big guys in his team, in his back six, and he's got a young, inexperienced key defender with him, but he's just taking his game to the next level. His aggressiveness on the ball, his ability to peel off and defend and know when to go and know when to hold back. He made Tex Walker look like he was Tex Walker from 3 years ago when he literally, the ball nearly hit him in the face and I was like, Tex Walker's gone, but he's gone on to kick bags. But he absolutely had Tex Walker in his pocket. Just to give you a little stat here, I looked up. This is how good I'm going down in TA. A couple of little stats flicking up. We have conceded, and shout out to my old man for getting me onto this one. We've only conceded 3 goals in the third quarter this year. And you know what they call the third quarter, mate?
The premiership quarter.
Oh, yeah, boy. Oh, yeah, boy. Big old premiership corner. That's all I'll say about that. All right, let's get into this. Look, I did a little bit of a deep dive into, I think, why we're winning these games and had a look into some statistics. And I think why we're winning is a whole team buy-in. It's blue-collar football. It's hard, in and under, getting back to our roots of hard-working, competitive, contested footy. And last year we went away from that a little bit. And I don't know if we tried to maybe get a little bit quicker on our goal scoring and stuff like that and speed up a little bit, but we went away from who we are as a team. And look, in the end, last year our ground ball gets in particular were horrible. This year we've gone plus 23 against Brisbane in ground ball gets, plus 7 against North Melbourne, and plus 13 against Adelaide in ground ball gets. So that's that willingness to win the ball when the ball is on the ground, I think was a really big thing for us 2 years ago. And it's been a big thing for us this year. I think as well, on top of that, clearances, we've gone plus 7 versus Brisbane Lions, minus 4 versus North Melbourne, who are a pretty good clearance side, believe it or not, and plus 3 versus Adelaide. And that midfield, the new dynamic midfield, really getting on top there. But more importantly, contested possessions, plus 7 versus Brisbane, plus 9 versus North Melbourne, and plus 8 versus Adelaide. So we're winning the ball on the ground, we're winning the contested possessions, and we're pretty much winning the clearances. So it's a really big game this week against Carlton and then against Port Adelaide backing up. So, I mean, I think Port Adelaide definitely have some weaknesses, although they should have beaten Melbourne. They definitely should have beaten Melbourne. And they tout us up in the preseason earlier in the year, and they do have a bloody good midfield. And Carlton, of course, they've got the Twin Towers, and they've got a really good midfield. And we've really got to make their lesser players more accountable and hope those guys rise to the occasion. But just a little bit of deep dive in terms of those stats: ground ball gets, clearances, and contested possessions. I think they're our 3 KPIs, and we've been able to elevate that, and that has meant that we've won games of footy.
Yep, absolutely. We are now running over teams, and that's part and parcel of, I guess, the work from Merriman and co down at Coburn, and being able to outrun opposition players in the third and the fourth quarter is telling. And going to JLo's point, I guess that's my point as well. Whilst it's really nice to win first quarters, we were in, I guess going back a number of seasons ago, we would be playing really well in the first 3 quarters and then fade hard in the fourth quarter. And then we would talk about being a 3-quarter team in a negative way. This is the right side of the ledger to be on. If you're going to come out and absorb and do what you do, then finish strong. And in each of the 3 games that we played, Duck, I think it's fair to say, as you've mentioned, that we've just run over teams. And as we play the better teams, that's where it's going to become even more important that we don't have the slow start, because the fact these better teams are going to be able to run the 4 quarters. But so far, we've been able to do what we've been able to do against, to be fair, like lesser teams. I think Brisbane were supposed to be a grand finalist, and I don't think they're making finals this year based on what they're doing, unless there's a whole lot of things apparently going on there, mate. But I think
a couple of Vegas trips that didn't even go to Vegas.
Yeah, let's not go there. But
WhatsApp,
I
mate.
think
delink your WhatsApp.
I just think the only thing I'm concerned about with the 3-quarter swing is like how long can you do that before a good team just takes advantage of the 2 goals or the 3 goals you give them, and then we just maintain that 3 goals, and then you say, well, only if. So I think the players are working on that. You're never going to win every game pretty, and irrespective of how ugly the game was, the fact is we were able to win ugly. And I don't think, as we talked about on the final siren, I don't think we would have done that in the past. So really excited by that, Duck.
And I think as well as the back-to-back 6-day breaks.
Yes,
we've played 3 games of footy in 12 days, realistically, and we've done a great job. We've managed to get 3 wins. And look, it is pretty funny. It's a little bit dockery that we haven't beaten a team that's won a game yet. But look, you can only beat the teams that are in front of you. And Adelaide are still a good team, and Brisbane are still a good team, and North Melbourne are coming. But then they're still. Well, it's good to get. There only be 2 easy wins in this year. This year it'll be Eagles and North Melbourne, and North Melbourne are pretty good. Just into some other quick good ones. Hayden Young, of course, fantastic. 32 disposals, 8 clearances, 8 marks, 7 tackles, 661 meters gained, 7 inside 50s, 1 goal assistance, and 7 score involvements. He was outstanding, and the way he uses the ball. And I think we've kind of figured out a little bit more how to use Hayden Young a bit better. And there's going to be games where people will go to Sarong, or they'll go to Brayshaw, or they'll go to Fife, or they may go to Hayden Young, even though he does play more of a defensive role. And I think for him to stand up and just take that game by the scruff it just gets you up and about a bit and really puts the faith in you to keep him in the midfield. Sonny Walters obviously turned back time, Sher style. There you go, little Sonny and Sher gag. Kicked 2 goals for 21 disposals, 8 marks, 4 inside 50s, and 8 score involvements. If it was 4 goals too, he would clearly be your macho man. I thought he was really, really good, but anyway, he did miss a couple of little easier opportunities and had a little bit more time than what he'd thought, but he plays such a hectic game that you just kind of like, whoa. But I think Sonny's back to his best, and he was a bit further up the ground. Not as close to goal, but still managed to affect the goal scoring. And the last one, mate, Banners. I think we've got to give Banners his flowers, man. He's, 15 disposals, 2 goal assists, 1 goal, 7 score involvements. Plays that graveyard shift. It's a really hard role to play. Fair dogs to the guy. He is getting better. It's fair to say we put a fair bit of trust into him and a fair few games into the guy. I thought he was going to be on the outer at the start of this year. It looked like he was. He was hardly getting a game for the Dockers in the preseason matches. He was coming on for the second team, and it's kind of like, all right, maybe they finally pulled the trigger on Banners and gone, look, we can upgrade in this spot across half forward with maybe someone like a Cooper Simpson, and maybe if a Cooper Simpson wasn't so, he's a bit sore after his first couple of preseason games, and he's a light-bodied fella, but I think that, you got to take your hat off to Banners, because he's gone, yep, okay, there's someone challenging me, and I'm going to rise to the occasion. The big thing now will be Banners playing that game week in, week out. And I think if he does, he really deserves at least a top 10 in the fairest and best finish.
Yep, agreed. I think Banners is playing to his potential right now, which is great, and it's his hard work. He's clearly doing the intangibles, the 1%ers that he's being asked to do. That obviously there's KPIs that we're not aware of outside of tackling and whatnot. Structurally, I'm saying, but he's just holding up his end of the bargain, and clearly that's why he's getting the games. But it's not just the tackling, as you mentioned. He's also getting involved with scoring opportunities, which is great. So the goal assists are awesome, but he's also finishing more often than not. And that used to be a bugbear where, we had a forward line devoid of creative initiative, I guess. And now that we have some quality in that forward line, he's just adding a little bit more to that rather than being dependent on to kick 2 and 3, and then therefore perhaps, copping the criticism. So he's just playing his role. He's doing it very well. And if you look at any team that's up and about, Duck, you always need that grunty type player, to grind it out week in, week out.
Play that graveyard shift. And I think as well that, for him to be involved directly in 3 of our goals, he kicks 1, he sets up 2. That's 1/3 of our goals. We only kicked 9 goals. So, that's a really big effort from one guy in your forward line. So really fantastic by Banners there into the bad. And look, we've got a new guy in our spotlight, and there's a guy we thought was going to have a really breakout season. That's Tommy Emmett. Ends up getting subbed off. He has 8 disposals at 62.5%, 5 clangers. His pressure acts were really low. I think it was around about 5 to 10, if that. He looked panicked. The pace of the early games, I think, is a bit much for him, whereas the pace of the later games, which he played in at the end of last year, is just that little bit slower, especially for teams that aren't going to play in the finals. The pace isn't as intense, and I think the pace is a little bit much for him. He needs a settling goal as well. I think he needs to settle with a goal in a game just to get him into it, because he had that settling goal in the first preseason match. He had that in his first couple of games where he kicked a goal, he got on the scoreboard early, settles his nerves. He may be a bit of a nervous character, which wouldn't surprise me, being a bit of a live wire. Generally they're nervous cats as well. They're a bit fidgety, but he just needs that settling goal. I don't know if he gets dropped this week. I'd say it's going to be pretty interesting, and we'll talk about it in the CIR Doors Peel Talk, whether or not there is someone who can come in yet for him. And even if it's someone like a Jago O'Meara, who was the sub, he ended up playing on the wing, whether it's not him and he plays forward as another tall potentially. And, Jago's known to kick goals, and he is a pretty crafty guy up forward. The inside 50s and the goal kicking was obviously horrible, mate. In that, we had 41 inside 50s for 5 goals at one stage. In the second quarter, we had 16 inside 50s for 2 goals. It was the old 10 years hard labour for a goal. In the second quarter in particular, we had 4 shots from 35 metres out, pretty much from about a 15-degree angle either side, and we missed all 4 of them. And it was just like, oh my God, what the hell's happening? And the game, realistically, it probably goes back to the double 6-day breaks, but the game was sloppy. And it's because of that. And this kind of rolls into the Dockery, but it's because of that, the media talk about, the Dockers were hard to watch again. Like, I listened to some media on the way down to Tamworth the next day, and they hardly spoke about the game because it was a hard game to watch. And it's like they mainly spoke about the Crows losing rather than the Dockers winning. There was no real, like, we're 3-0, and they didn't mention the Dockers much at all. And it's like they haven't really taken into consideration the 6-day breaks, that we've managed to grind out a win or anything like that. But yeah, what do you reckon, Oz?
Without going into too much of a rant, mate, it is becoming really hard to swallow how one team is being treated in terms of being 3-0 and the other team being 0-3, and wherever possible, anything positive to be spun on, like, for example, advice that Nat Fife is providing Harley Reid. This is going to be an important article to put in the West. Like, what they need to understand is this team is up and coming, and it needs to get its dues. And the other part of me, whilst I'm swallowing that, the clear discrepancy in the bias, and I get why that is, and that's entrenched in how the paper's established. I get it, but I'm also of the mindset, Duck, that I don't mind being at the moment being part of a team that is, and that's all the fans, by the way, but supporting a team that's not necessarily getting all of the chocolates and the accolades. Just let us do our thing. Let us go under the radar. And then when we start popping teams, you know what I mean? Like, 100%.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, Oz, that really kind of, it doesn't get my go. I don't really care about the West Australian stuff. I'm kind of over that. Like, the Eagles are they're probably the all-time worst teams I've ever seen in my life. Like, they are that bad. Like, I don't want this to become an Eagles bashing pod, but realistically, they lost by 75 points. And in the last 3 years that wasn't even in their top 10 worst defeats. It was like their equal 12th worst defeat. And they lost by 75 points. They've been pumped from pillar to post. They're just starting their rebuild now, realistically. So they got another 3 years of this before
So are you
there's
talking more
any light
like
at the end of the tunnel. I'm talking more
AFL
like
wise?
I'm talking AFL wise, and I know
Yeah,
we're a
yeah.
little dog, we're a
Yep.
little pup on the AFL landscape, and they want to talk about everyone else, but I just think we
Victoria,
need our
mainly.
flowers every now and again. Like, essentially, I listened to Triple M and I listened to SEN on the way down. And there was just nothing. It was more Adelaide really in crisis and da da da. It wasn't, hey, on the Dockers have beaten last year's grand finalists, an up and coming team that gave their coach a 2-year extension, not a 1-year extension, a 2-year extension, and an up and coming North Melbourne. And none of them have won any games, but this is a competition where you only can beat the team in front of you. The big thing will be next week. If we manage to beat Carlton next week,
yeah,
mate, there has to be some plaudits our way.
Oh,
Who knows?
oh.
Who knows?
Is it
Just
possible?
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
mate, just to go there.
No,
Is
no,
it
keep going.
possible that we somehow manage to get either Pav or Paps over to commentate to help us in our gather round? Because
Well, I
those guys
assume they'll all be
commentating,
there.
like, it makes watching a replay easy because you've
Yeah,
got guys that know the players, they know what they're talking about.
yeah,
Throw Scully in there, but he was missing. But the commentary has actually been really positive, aside from a few others coming in from over east. But I think, like, for the most part, the commentary that we've been getting has been pretty good. So I'd like to see
yeah.
that continue on.
I'm not really 100% sure. Because it's obviously a little bit weird. There's a Thursday night game. There's a Friday day game and a Friday night game. And then the Eagles play. So the Dockers game is at 1:20 on Saturday. So I'd assume that is a Channel 7 match. They usually get the day Saturday matches, but it probably will be a Foxtel game. It's Foxtel, I'd say Paps. But then are they going from Adelaide Hills to Adelaide Oval? I doubt it. So they might do the West Coast game. That might be the stitch up, is that Papalia and Pav are actually doing a game, and it turns out to be the West Coast game. Look, just into some quick dockery. The amount of hand passes inside 50 Oz. I mean, give me a spell. Like, kick a goal, you spuds. Like, I feel like the biggest nuffy when I just yell kick it, but like, honestly, man, it's like, just kick it. Someone have some balls and kick a goal. That's what you get paid for. That's what you get your name in the paper for. James Aish's set shot in the first quarter, which was like the world's biggest Mallee route, it like nearly didn't make it and nearly went out of bounds on the full. Tabs I think it was in the last quarter, just banging it forward, like on the ground, laying on the ground, and just punched the ball forward to no one, which was always pretty funny. The umpires, I thought Freddie's the front on. You could argue, I'd say 9 times out of 10, that's free kick. James Aish, I think you're actually in the toilet, and James Aish literally had Jai Miss. I don't know, I got Aish on the brain, maybe stable pony. Jai Miss literally had grievous bodily harm placed on him. He had his head punched in, his arm smashed. No free kick. That's all right. I was only about 40 metres out directly in front.
Yeah, good.
The general skill level and the game, it was Dockery. Let's face it was a gutter game. But one guy who, talking of commentators, I was like, what is going on? Not at the game, commentating off the TV. Didn't know who Josh Draper was. Let's be fair to say, didn't know who he was. He was like, this young fella looks really good, and fair dukes for Jared for giving him his props. But Jared Healy, mate, why is he on the game? Why can't you just have another WA guy? I'd actually prefer Kath Lachlan to be a special comments person. Like, I know
Yeah,
she's
she's
not a
great.
special comments person.
I like her.
She's a
It's
boundary
good.
rider, but like, I would actually
Knows
prefer,
Freo.
like, honestly, just get anyone from any of the meet, like any ex AFL player who's in WA. Schofield was doing a watch along. Like, why Schofield wasn't doing it, I don't know. Maybe it's because of the shot, the headshot they've got of him. He looks like he's evil or whatever. He looks like he's a bikie. But look, to be honest, mate, I thought like Jared Healy being on special comments for that game, and like, he's not an Adelaide expert either. Like, get an Adelaide person on. Like, if you're going to get someone to watch it, like, I'd hate to say this, and I know this is nearly as crazy as the lob call, but get Mark Rashuda on. Like, get someone like like that. There, no. Like, at least you have someone who knows Adelaide. Like, someone who you can go, all right, special comments
Yeah.
about Fremantle, Pav, you do that. Special comments about Adelaide, Roo, you do that. Easy peasy, job done. Anyway, on that bombshell, and I'm dropping bombshells, mate. Let's go to a break. When we come back, we've got the CIR Doors Peel Talk. Welcome back to the Purple Rain, Season 9, Episode 6.
Purple Rain.
Thank you, Oz. I need that for our pump up. Let's get into some Peel Talk, shall we? Peel Talk, of course, brought to you by CR Doors for all your commercial, industrial, or residential door installation service or repair. Make sure you get in contact with Joe on 9248 7705 or look up their website, cirdoors.com.au. And, Joe, wish me happy Easter, mate. Managed to have a bit of a
Joe,
text
happy
message
Easter,
with him,
mate.
I was
Sorry.
out. Yeah,
I was
happy
painting,
Easter to
so
Joe.
I couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, you sent the message to me. Sorry, I missed your call. I was like,
Yeah.
didn't even call you, bud. I was like, what are you doing, Oz? But no, I missed
that was
Joe's
meant to be
call
the
as well
joke. Sorry,
yesterday
mate.
because I was at a family function. So, Joe, to you and yours, Merry Easter. Merry Easter. Happy Easter.
Happy
but let's
Merry
get
Easter.
into some actual CIR. Who's knocking at that door? Because Peel Thunder 12-10-82 defeated East Fremantle 9-9-63 by 19 points in a grand final rematch, Oz, from last year. Look, there's only one man we can really talk about, and he was the best on ground as an inside mid, and I don't know if he's going to get in the team. So unfortunately, he can knock on that door as an inside mid, but Neil Erasmus, 35 disposals and 5 inside 50s, a cut above everyone else when it comes to the waffle. He does get the ball on the inside, but unfortunately, there's no room for him on the inside at AFL level. Interesting to see that Brody was in the best despite only getting 18 disposals, and looks like he doesn't get enough of it, and I don't think he'll be in the team anytime soon. Again, that 4-year contract's really starting to look interesting. Liam Reedy was interesting, 47 hitouts and 14 disposals. Could he be a chop out for Jackson, given that Darcy is still a couple of weeks away? Maybe if we want to give, because Tabs looked really sore this week with his back.
Yeah.
Like Tabs' back, he looked really sore, and Tabs played a fair game.
Side note, Duck, and as I said to you in the box, mate, Freo the players were doing everything possible to test out his back. They were kicking the ball at his feet, over his head, short, whatever it was. The poor bugger, if his back wasn't knackered by that point, it was probably going to be with all the delivery options. But yeah, you're right. I think the issue being is, do they persist with Tracy as opposed to Tabs? And then can Jackson and De Koning, you know what I mean? Like they're both pretty athletic.
It's going to be interesting because I guess, if you bring in Reedy, you're going to play him in the guts, and you're robbing your Peter to pay Paul, you're taking away from your midfield with Jackson and how well he's playing, and you're giving to your forward line. But I think hopefully Tabs can get up. They get it. I think they've got a 8-day break, which is good. So a bit of a spell, fantastic. But then, it could be an option. But Reedy, I don't think he was great versus Port Adelaide in that preseason match when he had to ruck majority of the time. He got manhandled a bit, and I think he probably just needs a few more years down at Peel developing that body. But again, it's really good to have a guy in waiting in the wings for if Darcy or Jackson, touch wood, Jackson doesn't go down, but if Darcy injuries continue. Jack Deane's probably the only one I could think of as well that may come into the team, given he kicked 2 goals too. Looked like a real live wire up forward. His scouting report for his draft year was he's a forward that knows where the goals are and he has great leading patterns. I was like, how the Dockers drafting this guy? What are they doing with this bloke? This guy doesn't belong at the Fremantle Football Club. Can he tackle? What's his tackling like? What's his pressure like? So, Jack Deane could be someone. He is very slight. He's not the biggest bloke, but he takes marks. He's got good leading patterns. So who knows? 2 goals, 2. If he's kicked 3 goals, 1, I think he really is knocking out that CIR door. And just one big shout out, Oz, to our man Nathan Wilson, who played at full forward, got named at full forward, played at full forward, 6 disposals, 5 goals straight.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, mate, have we got a spot in the mid-season draft for him? Like, can we pick this guy up mid-season? Mate, Nathan Wilson, kick him from anywhere. Let's get him back in the team. Imagine getting Willow back in. Knows all the boys. Chuck him up forward. Can kick him from anywhere. I love that. I really hope Wilson continues to play well for Peel. Look, as much as he used to hang on the ball heaps, he was a solid player at the Dockers, and it's so funny that he's just gone, like he's finished up at the Dockers and he's like, I'm playing for Peel, but you got to put me in the cage. Like, I'm not leaving the goal square. I'm kicking bags. And to have 6 disposals and kick 5 goals is just so old school. It's so sick. I love it.
Yeah. Pretty good, mate. I do think on something else, mate, I do think Cooper makes his debut in 1 or 2 games over there, but we'll get to the listeners' questions.
You reckon? Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Very interesting. All right, let's go. Alrighty, listeners' questions are brought to you by Sonam Capital. If you need any financial if you've got any financial help you need in regards to home loans and refinancing, make sure you contact Nick at sonamcapital.com. That's his email, but give him a call on 0409 626 561. Nando, he's your man. And you know what? He'll happily talk Dockers with you as well because he's a great guy. But make sure you get in contact with Nick for any home loans, any financial stuff that you need. He is your man, and you know he's just a ripper guy, and he can get you through the process. It's interesting. I know this is a bit of a side note, but I was talking to a bloke yesterday at lunch, and he was a real estate agent, and we're kind of talking about like the real it's hard like buying a house. It's a really hard thing, especially when you're first home buyer. But if you get in contact with someone like Nick really helped us all the way through the process. He's a ripper guy. He's available to answer any questions, no matter how dumb. And I ask a lot of dumb questions. He was fantastic with us, and just someone, you know, you kind of do need that sounding board when you're purchasing a house. And look, your parents know so much, but have an expert on your side when it comes to, you know, your mortgage and things like that, and give you the best deal. He's a man, so make sure you get in contact with Nick at Sonam Capital. All right, Oz, this one is the first one for you. This one's from Brady Joel. Will you charter a Purple Rain bus for the trip and get us all on it? And if so, what are the top tracks for the playlist on the trip? What are the top tracks we're playing, mate, for the Book the Bus Grand Tour?
Well, we got the old favourites, so clearly there's this one. Here you go. There's a banger. Hang on. Let me just fade that down. I'll put this one on. This is a banger. I reckon I'd have my favourites, mate. You'd have to have your footy favourites as you go. I mean, Holy Grail would have to be there at some point in time.
Oh, yeah, you got to play some Holy Grail.
Yeah, but I'd like to think that we could mix it up. You know, there's a bit of new school, bit of old school in there. It'd be interesting. Who controls that? We'd probably have Patches.
A great road trip song is Radar Love by Golden Earring. You know, Radar Love. You got a thing that's called Radar Love. This is a banger as well, mate. We're going to play this more on the bloody show.
I will say, though, Duck, for those of you who have kids and travel down south, one way, if you can do it, get your Spotify list or whatever it is that you do, and make sure that you create your own playlist and get your Kiddly Winks or whatever it is to go 3 or 4. And 3 or 4 songs or whatever it is, and then you'll share that and they just get into it, and then you can put the ones that you really want to listen to, and then they're forced to listen to those. I mean, if you do that anyway. So that's good fun. I like that.
Good idea.
All right, this question for you, mate, from Lever Archer. How do you think the team's fitness levels are compared to previous seasons? We seem to be running out games stronger than the opposition, Duck.
Yeah, that's a very valid point, and like I said at the top of the show, in regards to contested possessions, ground ball gets, and clearances, you know, we've just got that the personal bests that happen in the gym over the summer, not necessarily on the track, but in the gym. And I think we always had that pretty solid fitness base, but Phil Merriman and the job he's doing down at Freo Dockers now, we're finally, you know, it's interesting. There's only a few of the stragglers of the Ross Lyon era still floating around at the Dockers. And it does take a time to change body type and get them into whatever style we want to do. But I think we've got to give the flowers to Phil Merriam, and he's done a fantastic job. Our injuries, touch wood, are pretty much very, very limited. And we've managed to get our fitness right up and about, and we're running over the top of teams. This one for you from Ryan Partridge. Do you see a way in which we trade some or all of our first-round picks to West Coast Eagles to get pick 1? Our list is good, and we need just a superstar top pick for the icing on the top. What's your thoughts on that, Oz? So let's say we traded let's say we ended up, I don't know, with pick Collingwood finish let's say we get pick 10 and pick 10, pick, I don't know, 12 and pick 18 because we win the flag. Would you trade those 3 picks for a number 1 pick?
Well, the club would be shut down, mate, because we'd won the flag. So it wouldn't matter about the draft
Yeah,
picks,
just
mate.
close the club. That's it. End of
Close
story.
club,
No more
if we get a
memberships.
premiership.
That would be hilarious if, like,
Yeah.
literally after we won the flag, we'll like put out a thing like, no one buy memberships. No, we're not going anymore. It's done. The deal's done. It's done. Shout out to the Talk guys for that theory. Close
I love
the
it,
club.
mate. I'm not against this idea, given where we're at, and the Eagles have already picked up the player that they wanted. I love some of the stuff that's coming out saying, "Oh, there's no way, Reed's just not. He's not going to sign with West Coast is all over," and it's just that sort of stuff is just not entertained at all in any media. They're not really wanting to talk about that. It's like a hoodoo topic, but
Yeah.
but for us, I don't think there's that one standout necessarily that's of that ilk. So it's almost like you do need a few swings with certain positions. So I'd be keeping on to it personally, mate. All right, this is for Sam Tomlin. From Sam Tomlin to you, Duck. Does the collective fan base read too much into Peel performances at the expense of recognising the club and coaches have a much broader perspective of each player?
Yeah, I think that's pretty valid. But I think the thing that we get irritated with is when you can see a player, because players do get into form. Like, you do get purple patches. Shout out RIP to the purple patch. Remember when we used to
RIP
do that,
Purple
Oz?
Patch.
It's still there. It's just it's reincarnated as the reincarnated. What's that language? Reincarnated as the final siren. But Oz, it is good. It's good to understand. I think there's a clear understanding at the Dockers. Sorry, don't know why I got Eagles on the brain, but at the Dockers that there isn't much validity in waffle football. I think that they don't think it's that high a standard because you can just look through the mature age picks. We never get mature age picks from the waffle. They're always from the Sandful or they're from the VFL. Even though the waffle is a fairly decent competition, all our mature age picks. And I think it's that, I guess you see it, so you're like, oh, well, and you see it in the paper, and you're like, oh, this guy keeps kicking goals. Like, why isn't he getting picked up? Well, why the other 18's not picking him up? You know what I mean? And I think we do get a little bit frustrated with things like Raz. Like Raz, 35 disposals, and I can't see him getting into the team because he's playing as an inside mid and he's getting those 35 disposals. So I think that's hopefully something that we'll try and do a little bit more this year on the CIR Doors Peel Talk is talk about where the players are playing and where they fit in our team and what type of player we need to replace. If you think about it at the moment, it's like, all right, the guy's probably in the chopping block is Tommy Emmett. He hasn't had a great start to the year. If he goes out, the guy that probably is going to come in is maybe a Jager as a, potentially as a forward, which he can play, or it's a Deline or it's a Simpson, so it's a little bit harder than just going, this guy out, this guy in. You've got to actually match them to the players. So yeah, I think that obviously as fans we do, you get excited. You see Raz has had 35 disposals and best on ground and you go, well, he's got to play. But it's like, yeah, he's had those 35 and he's best on ground being an inside mid. He's not knocking out Sarong. He's not. I would say even Erasmus is behind Johnson as an inside mid. Like Johnson's a better inside mid than him. So like, I'd rather Johnson go inside and Raz play on the wing. But then I don't want him on the wing because he's not a very good wingman. Like that's not his go. So I don't know. It's a little bit of a tough one, Oz. All right, this one for you from Sean Warren. This is Warning. What's your favourite food to eat while watching Dockers at
Hey,
home?
Warnie.
What do you
Where
like
do I
to eat while you're
start?
watching the
It
footy, mate?
depends. If I'm at home, I prefer the Samboy barbecue chips. Now I know people have their taste. This is going to divide a nation.
No, Adelaide.
Some people
Not wrong.
like
100%.
the Smiths. Some people like what? No, it's
No,
got to be
losers, mate. Sandboys
Samboy.
all the way. Yep.
100%. So start with that.
Best
That's my
chip, hands
appetizer.
down, pants down, that. Yep.
Yes. Now, in terms of during, that depends if I've done a slow cooked meat session, of which would be like either a pulled pork sandwich, could quite easily be brisket. If it's not, pizza, that goes down a treat. I don't mind doing the cheeky hot dog. That's also a nice thing. But I tell you what's been sneaking up lately, the old nachos.
Ooh,
coming back from the US.
nachos. Nice.
I must admit, and shout out to Timmy Godley from Bonita High School, and I've known him for years. And he takes me to an authentic Mexican restaurant in Pasadena, and the whole tour group went, and it's like the best Mexican you'll ever have. It is amazing. the ladies make the guac right in front of you, and it's just to die for. And I've got that taste again for nachos and whatnot. So into that, Duck. So there's a spread. I don't mind. I don't mind the order of things, other than the barbecue chips have to come first. And if my kids let me eat them, because I'm usually territorial like that, I just watch Kong. So yeah, but that's me, mate. That's me. All right.
Oh, side
Dan
note,
Costin. Oh, what about you?
Sorry, Ken. Let me just ask this. I love a pie when I'm watching footy.
Yeah.
Have you ever been mistaken for being in the Latin American background or anything like
Mate,
that?
I have been mistaken for every
you're a man
nationality known to man.
I was like,
every...
if you said to me, look, actually, I'm from Mexico, I'd be like, okay, well, cool, like,
yeah,
whatever, like.
Yeah, it's a bit of a running joke, actually.
What do you go for us?
Okay, this is from Moyle Sports. When do Fremantle seek an injunction on any commentator calling Nick the Wizard Watson? There is only one wizard.
Now, you know as why I gave this question to me. This Nick Watson guy, he needs to go. He missed a goal from literally the goal square today, and he kicked it out of bounds on the full. Bin the wizard. He's like a bin chicken, mate. He's not a wizard. He's got nothing. He's like, I'm not a Harry Potter guy, but he's like a guy who's just walking along, just a muggle. Are they called muggles? That's what they're called. That there is only one wizard. Is Jeff the Wizard Farmer?
I've got a solution to this.
Unless you're kicking bags, mate, don't bring me no wizard rubbish. Yeah,
if your highlights are better, if you do a 2-minute highlight montage and it's better than the old nickname for whoever it is, then you've earned that right for that nickname. If you can't put together a 2-minute highlights package, which is like the original no, I'm sorry, no. That's a hard no.
Mate, people forget how good the Wiz was. I know I look through it through my Tambler glasses, but people forget how good that guy was. He was so good. At Melbourne in particular, like he was better at like as a small forward at Melbourne. The stuff he used to do was just like freakish. Kicked 8 goals in a prelim. God's sake, like chill out. All right, this one from Andrew Jones. This is a good one. Who would win? 22 Luke Jacksons, all right, versus Freo's best 22 without Luke Jackson. So you're playing against 22 Luke Jacksons, and then it's pretty much our team. But I'm assuming if you put Sean Darcy in the ruck, that's what you've got.
Yeah, of course.
Then you've got, So but it's versus 22 Luke Jacksons, and there's no Luke Jackson on the other side.
I feel there would be some cataclysmic implosion with having that many Jacksons on at one time. Like how does the unicorn theory work? Does the universe allow said unicorns to run around the paddock at the same time? Are the horns like causing some form of magical combustion?
Supernova event, mate. I
think it's all coming together. There's a massive, explosion, implosion, however you want to. Implosion.
Oppenheimer style. That's all they needed was 2 Luke Jacksons, and they would have solved it straight away. Just running into each other.
I was going to say something about... No, I better not. I won't say.
No.
A couple of interesting scenes in Oppenheimer, isn't there? Now, I will say, Duck...
I'm putting it out there. Oppenheimer wasn't that good, mate. I went and watched it. It's too long. It wasn't that good.
Oof.
Anyway.
I reckon I'm going to go Luke Jackson. Luke Jackson.
Okay. Love that, mate. I reckon Luke Jackson's as well.
All right. This is from...
Just be the best in every position.
Dan Cosson, what is your all-time favorite Dockers player's nickname aside from Wizard? Now that's not up there, but
Wizard,
you know it's going to be Wizard.
Up there.
No,
obviously
it's not.
Prince
but you
Pockets. Prince Pockets really good. I think Rubber for Daniel Bandy. Rubber Bandy. Really love that one. I remember hearing someone say that when I was like at the footy one day, and I was like, that is a great nickname. Clive for Waterhouse, just Clive. Shammer Time for Bone Shammer. I really used to like that. Shammer Time. I think our nicknames in particular for Daniel Pearce, like Two More, Careless Whisper, they're they're my personal favourites. So yeah, those ones. Have you got any favourites that you can think off the top of the head that you really love, mate?
I sported a badge of Adam McPhee, aka The Matrix. The Matrix. you just didn't know. He was the last
I
piece
thought
of the
he
puzzle?
was
Who
more of a
knows?
nanny, wasn't
He
he?
was the
Nanny
answer to
McPhee. That's what
everything, mate.
called
Yeah,
him
no,
Nanny
we called him
McPhee,
the
mate.
Matrix where we were. We
Called
called
him
him the
Matrix.
Matrix.
Oh, he's calling Nanny. And, Super Grover. I reckon that was pretty good for Anthony Grover.
Yeah.
Super
Oh, and
Grover.
Roger Hayden we nicknamed the Doctor, and that caught on too where we were. He was
Nice.
just clinical.
Roger
He was
Hayden. Yeah.
surgeon, the Doctor.
I reckon, maybe Trent Crow, the lamb shearer. That's what he got called down in Tampa, because anyone can shear like a couple of hundred lambs. But
Could see where you're
when the
going with that
games
one.
got tough, he was nowhere to be seen. Trent
Yeah.
Crow's
All right,
a
mate.
player.
This is my last one
What do
from
you
you, from Richo Pablo. Did Duck do a DNA, and are the
Drug and
results
alcohol?
going to be publicly released on the back of his scandalous Rory Lobb call?
Well, mate, look. It is something that I know. Look, in my mind's eye, I know it's not the right call. I get it. I understand it. I'm not an idiot, but the guy kicked 36 goals, 24 in 2022 for the Dockers.
Courtesy of J-Lo,
21
who
games.
apparently didn't do anything for him.
Yeah, we went 14-7 with him. You know, like he had 156 hit outs, so he's very good in the ruck. He's a better ruck. Like, this is the thing that I think people get confused. If you're going to play Jackson in the ruck, that means you need a better ruck, a better forward than Sean Darcy, which Rory Lobb is, and he's better than. Let's be honest, he's better than Tracy. Even though Tracy's going all right, he's a better forward than Tracy. I know that's crazy, but that's just the fact of the matter. Is like Tracy hasn't kicked over 20 goals yet. Lobb's kicking 36 for us. Okay, he's also a better backup ruckman than Tracy. He just is. That's just pure cold facts. Would I want him on my team? No. Do I want him to come back to the Dockers? No. I'm just hypothetically, that's where the mind goes. This is how much of a freak Luke Jackson is. He is such a freak, and we're talking about supernovas and things like that, and implosions. The implosions and the cataclysm and the mind's eye, where it goes, because he is such a good football player, it goes to the deepest, darkest recesses of your mind. That's the truth, Oz. So no drugs and alcohol there. Now, Mickey So's asked, last one for us. What? Yeah, the quant. I'm in the quanton level, mate. Who do you think's our most underrated player at the moment?
Oh, that's a good question. Can I be? I'm going to use this again. Wait. This is the most underrated player right now.
Fifey, Quanton.
Nathaniel Fife. Because people aren't expecting anything of him because he hasn't really been playing regular football. Well, he hasn't. Not really. He just hasn't. He hasn't been playing regular football over the past few years. And what we're getting out of him is a bonus. And so really, we're underestimating what he's doing. And he's just going about doing his thing. He's not, I mean, because he's Fife, people might think he's front and center. Yeah, he's just playing his role. And I think it's working really well. I think what he's doing is complementary to the likes of Sarong, Brayshaw, Johnson, Youngie. I mean, your call, mate. Your call early on Youngie and potentially Brownlow. He's playing some good footy. I mean, I still think Sarong, but I mean, but Young is really blossoming in that role, mate. So, yeah,
well,
that's my call.
Fife's gone 21 disposals, 19 disposals, 21 disposals. He's not setting the world on fire, but he's doing his job. He is the fourth banana, you know, like we talk about Brayshaw being the fourth banana. He's not. Fife is the fourth banana, but Fife does all the unsung grunt work, which he's probably never used to because he was usually the top dog. So he's just doing all the grunt work, and it is really paying dividends. And I think he's loving being a part of a winning team. You know, he said it on the ABC. He's like, as much as you talk about play and trust the process and this and that, he goes, winning games make the job easier, makes life a lot easier. All right, Oz, on that note, thank you very much to everyone that has listened. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review. We are at Purple Rain 95, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're at The Purple Rain 95 on YouTube and TikTok. Please be patient with us with our podcasting stuff, guys, because we really don't know how to do it. And poor old Michael, our media guy, he's like getting sent documents from me and Oz being like, what is this? Like corrupt files. We're just trying our best. So the YouTube vodcast stuff we will endeavor to put up when we can, but it is a working process. This year is always going to be feeling out things. This is a big feel out year for the vodcast. But look, Thank you very much to everyone. Have a safe Easter for the rest of it. Enjoy the gather round if you're going over there. And thank you very much, everyone.
Let's go, Freo.